Hello students, today's topic is function in C. So we will discuss what is a function in C, what are the types of function, advantages of function. We will discuss a program using a function and what are the conclusions we will draw after studying the function. So we have already used functions in your C programming. For example, we have used main function in your program earlier, or we have used printf, scanf, clear screen, get ch. We have used these functions earlier. So we will discuss what are the functions and why we use them. So C has a modular programming style. So in modular programming, a large problem is divided into smaller modules or parts. So C is a modular programming style. It means a big problem, a large problem will be divided into smaller problems or parts. So after dividing the large problem into smaller one, the smaller problems are solved separately, which in terms of C language are called as functions. So when we divide the large problem into small problems, we will solve these small problems separately and then combine. So these functions are then integrated with other functions to form a large programmer sorter. So after when we complete the different functions, then we combine these functions to form a large program or a software. Or in other words, we can say that functions are small division of a program. So a C program consists of one or more function. So a C program has one or more function. If a program has only function, then it must be the main function. So our C program should have at least one function. So if our program have one function, then that function is the main function. So advantages of function. What are the advantages of function? It avoids repetition of code. The code we have written for particular uh, algorithm. So we can use that code for some other program, some other software, some other program also. So we don't have to repeat again write that program, that code. Increases program readability. It will increase the program's readability. It will, program readability becomes very easy. Divide a complex problem into simple ones. So we can divide a complex problem, a big problem, into simple ones, a small ones. Reduce chances of error. It will also reduce the chances of error. So modifying a program becomes easier by using a function. So if we need to modify a program, it becomes easy if we use a function, because we have to look into a particular function and we have not to look into the whole program. So there are basically two types of function. First is library function or inbuilt function, and second is user defined function. So what is a library function? A function which is provided by your C compiler is the library function. It is already written in your library function. For example, we have used these functions earlier. For example, printf, scanf, main, getch, clear screen. These are the library function. And user defined function. User defined functions are those functions which are created by users when we as per our requirement. So what is a library function? Library functions are written for us and they can be used whenever required, but their code is not accessible to. So we can access the code of the library function. So these functions are stored in header files coming from coming with the compiler. So these programs are in the header file. For example, printf, scanf, clear scan, getch, power, square root, etc. These are library functions. We have used these functions in earlier programming. So these are the library functions. So but for these library functions, we have to include some header files. For example, for printf and scanf, we have to use the standard info.h. For clear scan and getch, we have to use the console info.h. And for power and square root, we have to include the math.h. So these functions are sometimes called as standard library functions. So these functions are called standard library functions. So any standard library function must be prototyped. So to accomplish this task, appropriate header files are included for each library function. So we have to include the appropriate header file. If we have to use power function, then we have to include math.h. Or square root function, then we have to include math.h. If we are including, if you are using clear screen or getch, then we have to use console.h. So necessary header files are provided with C compiler. So in your C compiler, we have the necessary header files. So header files in C are usually with .h extension. So the header files have the .h extension. For example, standard input output.h is included in all program containing printf and scanf. So if we have to use any mathematical function in our programming, such as power, sine, etc., we have to include math.h file. So for these power and sine or square root, for these we have to include the math.h. And similarly for string length, we will study in our next chapter string function. So for string length, string copy, etc., we have to use string dot h. We have not studied till now string dot h, but we will study later. So no user-defined functions. What is a user? User-defined functions are defined by the programmer. So these are these are created by programmer. These functions are not provided with the compiler. So these are not with the compiler. General form of the user-defined functions are return type, function name, argument. The functions return type, for example, int main and the argument in the bracket in which the argument will be, and then the value which every function should return a value. If a function will not return it, then there should be return 0. So function name can be any valid identifier. A name can be any valid identifier. Any identifier we can use that identifier as the name of the function. So argument is the function body containing a list of the parameters received by the function. So the parameters, the values which we have to pass to the function, these are the arguments of the function. So user defined the parameter receives the value of arguments when the function is called. When we call a function, the function parameters will receive the values of the argument. List of parameters separated by commas. So the parameters written in the brackets will be separated by commas. So a function can be without parameter. So all the parameter received by a function has to be declared with its data type. So a function can be with parameter or without a parameter, and all the parameters should be declared with its data. For example, int, float, character. What type of, which type of, any type of these parameters, they should have a data type with. So list of parameter declare, they can take the following form. For example, function name, data type value 1, data type value 2, and so on. Data type value. For example, int a, float b, character c, and so on. For example, this int I, float j, and character c. This is function there. So a function returns one value which is by default of type int. So a function should return a value. By default it returns an integer value. So one function always return one value. If the return type of a function is declared as void, then it will return null value. See, if we write void function name, if we declare void as the return type of function, then our function will return a null value. So there cannot be a function which does not return any value. So every function should return a value. If a function does not return a value, it should return a null value or a zero value, but it should return something. So a function, there cannot be any function which cannot return a value. So here is a program. I have included two header files, standard input dot attach, console input dot attach. So I have written here main starts. I have called function 1 here, function 2 here, function 3 here, and then main ends. So this is the definition of function 2, this is the definition of function 1, and this is the definition of function 3. So here int, it means it will return integer value, but here it is written return 0. It means it will not return anything, it will return 0. Here again it will return 0. So this function will print function 2, this will print function 1, and this will print function 3. So when the program executes, first this will be printed, main starts, first this will be printed, then function 1 will be called. So function 1 will be called. So it does not require the order of the definition of function. Only the calling of the function depends the order. So here function I have called function 1, so this function 1 will be called, it will print function 1. So function 1 will be called printed. Then here function 2 will be called, control goes to function 2, it will print function 2, and again control, it will print function 2, and again control comes here. Then here function 3, so function 3 will be called, so it will print function 3, control goes here, and it will print function 3, again control comes here, then control goes in this printf, and here main ends got printed. So this is how this program works. So what conclusions we can draw from this? There can be any number of functions in a C program. So we can use any number of functions in a C program. There is no limit. Functions are of two types, library and user defined function. So we have two types of function. One is library function, other is user defined function. There is only one main function in a program. So a program has only one main function. So order of execution of function depends upon the call given to the function. The order by which the function execution of function is, it depends upon the call of the function. Which function we call first, that the order of that function is first. So after the end of each function, the program control is returned to the calling statement. So after end of each function, for example, this function ends, so control again comes here. For example, I have called this function first, so this again from here again control comes here, so no function 2 is called, so again control goes here, again control comes here, then function 3 is called, so again control comes here, then this main ends. So after the end of each function, the program control is returned to the calling statement. So one function return one value, one function should return a one value. A function can be called by any number of times, so we can call a function by any number of times. It depends upon our algorithm or our logic of the program. So this is what I have today: a function, definition of a function, the types of function, the two types of function, user defined function and library function, uh, the advantages of function, a program using functions, using user defined function, and conclusions, what conclusion we draw using a function. Thank you.